Good morning, everybody. Tess Crawley here. How are you today? It's Friday. I can't believe it. It's been such an exciting, busy week for me this week. All sorts of things have been happening in the practice. You might have seen my little news post on Saturday, which talked about some new relationships that we're building within the perinatal psychology industry. And of course, don't forget that we've got a free mental health checkup option that you can sign up for on our website, tesscrawley.com.au. So have a look at the website and you can sign up there. It can be either Skype or phone. We can do a quick checkup with you and see how you're travelling and see how we might be able to help. But today I wanted to talk about anxiety. And I thought I have permission from a very long-term client, or not very long-term, but a client that I've known for quite a number of years who very kindly agreed to let me tell a little bit of her story today. And she has battled anxiety for quite some time. And she was telling me how the other day she was noticing something going on with her that made her worry that she was going to have a panic attack. And I'll tell you a little bit more about that. But first, I wanted to tell you a little bit about, well, what is anxiety? What is it that we're talking about when we do talk about anxiety? So it's a word that we use a lot, and sometimes we use the word anxiety when we're really talking about feeling nervous, or when we're really talking about feeling worried. We might say I'm feeling anxious. But anxiety from a clinical psychology perspective is actually something quite specific. We're talking about sometimes anxiety disorders. So this is where the anxiety has built up over such a period of time and persists across a range of circumstances for the client, but also is so severe that it affects the individual's capacity to live a happy, healthy life. So first of all, today I would just tell you a little bit about what anxiety is, and then in future vlog posts, I thought I'd share with you a couple of really simple strategies that I find really helpful and my clients find really helpful when they're feeling anxious, because of course sometimes I get anxious too. What is anxiety? So we'll go back in time for a moment, cue the spooky music, back to thinking about when we were living in caves and fighting off predators all the time. So as a species, we evolved this really second, see, live video. This is what happens, live video. Looks like we're back. Cool. Okay, I'll go back. Back in time, in caveman days, as a species, we were looking for survival, so looking for shelter, looking for food and fighting off predators. So as a species, we developed, one of our survival instincts was the fight or flight response. So this is controlled by a little part of the brain, no bigger than an almond really, called the amygdala. And the amygdala is right in the middle of our brain, in one of the oldest parts of our brains, and it's linked with emotions and it's linked with driving this fight or flight reaction. So what is it? The fight or flight response. So when your brain detects, or when the amygdala detects a sense of threat, so it detects that you are in some kind of danger, it will kick into gear this automatic response. So it's not something that you even think about. It's an automatic response that gets your heart beating faster, gets your breath shallower, so higher up in your chest and faster. Now those two things together, the heart rate and the breathing rate, working faster together, are all about getting freshly oxygenated blood to your big muscles, so your legs and your arms, so you can fight or run and increase your chances of survival. Really cool system that we've got going on in there. It shuts down your digestive system, so because of course all that energy is required elsewhere in your big muscles. It sharpens your vision and your hearing so that you're really tuned into what's going on in your environment, looking for further sources of threat, looking for escape options. So that fight or flight reaction operates on a hair trigger. We don't have to decide to kick it into gear. It just happens when we're in danger. So in the modern world, go forward in time again, you're crossing the road and a car comes screaming around the corner. Next thing you know, you're on the other side of the street and you almost don't know how you got there. That's your fight or flight reaction kicking into gear, giving you that big shot of adrenaline, boosting those other systems into action, and away you go. And you've taken action that's aimed at increasing your chances of survival. Okay. Now, in the modern world, of course, we don't have quite so many life and death situations as we might have had in caveman days. We're not on a daily basis fighting for our survival. So what's happened over the course of our evolution is that our amygdala, still geared towards detecting threat, sometimes makes a mistake. So the amygdala isn't our thinking brain. Our thinking happens, like our problem solving and our thinking things through, happens right at the front of our brain, prefrontal cortex. So the amygdala, remember, is tucked away right in the middle, which is a very old part of the brain. So sometimes we get a shock, someone jumps out behind us, or we get a nasty phone bill, which has happened to me, or something else unexpected and frightening might give us a jolt, and the amygdala might make a mistake and kick that fight or flight reaction into gear, and all of a sudden we're feeling overwhelmed. So when you're feeling hot and sweaty and your heart's racing and you can't catch your breath and you're suddenly feeling like you're choking, or there's an elephant sitting on your chest, is how some people have described it to me. When you're feeling those symptoms and you're not in a life or death situation, that's that fight or flight reaction having kicked into gear at the wrong time. Your amygdala's made a bit of a boo-boo, bit of a mistake. And so that's what anxiety really is. It's that fight or flight reaction kicking off in the wrong moment. Now, for some people who've experienced a trauma, or they have an anxious temperament, or they're very sensitive individuals, for some people they're more prone to that anxiety response being kicked off in reaction to otherwise benign things. So getting back to my client who was talking to me the other day and was quite happy for me to share this example with you. She's worked really hard over the years that I've known her to get on top of her anxiety symptoms, and she really has come so far. I'm very proud of her, and I told her that. But the other day she had a coffee and wasn't aware that it was a double shot instead of a single shot. So she got this extra boost of caffeine in her system all of a sudden, and that increased her heart rate. And she was walking down the street and she noticed her heart starting to pound. And then she noticed that her breathing was starting to get a bit funny as well. And she started thinking, oh my goodness, am I having a panic attack? Now, with anxiety disorders and panic disorder in particular, it's that fear of a panic attack that can drive that anxiety response higher and higher and spiral all the way up to become a self-fulfilling prophecy. So that fear of a panic attack actually makes one happen. She was smart. She was able to quickly backtrack over what had happened that morning and realised that it was probably the coffee. So she was able to bring those symptoms back, functioning normally. So anxiety won't hurt you in itself. It feels awful. Now, I've had one panic attack in my life, and that occurred while I was overseas. I was 2/3 of the way through a pregnancy. It was hot, it was summertime, and I was having to climb a 3-story escalator that was broken. So I was having to inside a plastic tube on the outside of a building. If you've ever been to Paris, there's a museum called the Pompidou Centre, which I now absolutely hate because this is where I had my one and only panic attack. So I was hot, I was pregnant, I was in an enclosed space, and I was having to climb, and I was about halfway up. And so, of course, it didn't matter whether I kept going or went back down. I still had a long way to go in this hot tube. My breathing became shaky and overwhelmed, and I couldn't catch my breath. And of course, being pregnant makes it a lot harder to catch your breath too. So I knew what was happening. I knew it was a panic response. I knew why it was happening. But those symptoms, being unable to get my breath back under control, those symptoms overwhelmed me. And there I was, poor old pregnant me, in the middle of a tunnel. I'm in a tube outside the Pompidou Centre in Paris, sweaty and in tears. A little bit of information about what anxiety is. There are various anxiety disorders that I could talk about, but I just think to give you today a general overview of what anxiety is, what those symptoms are. They are frightening. If you experience them, they are frightening, and we certainly understand that, and we're very, very experienced psychologists, social workers, anyone trained in mental health treatment really. Probably anxiety is the main thing that we work with. So if you feel anxiety symptoms, you're not alone. A lot of people experience it. It's very, very common, and we'd be more than happy to help you if you need some help with that. Hope you're having a great day today. Like I said, don't forget to check out our website, tesscrawley.com.au, for that free mental health checkup if that's something that interests you. And have a fantastic weekend ahead. I look forward to talking to you again soon. Bye bye.